Hello, everybody. I think you know who I am, so I'm not going to say my name. Just call me a horse with no name. Um, yeah, um, I've been a bit grumpy the last couple of days, but I think I'm over it. I mean, life's too short to be grumpy for more than a day or two. I'm going to talk all about the meteorological, which doesn't mean meteors, of course, it means weather. The records that have been broken recently by Cyclone Freddy, that used to be Typhoon Freddy. Um, this storm, which just petered out, but maybe it'll resuscitate again, it set all kinds of records as it's been traversing the Pacific Ocean. So I'm going to talk about these records, and of course, the ocean is super warm. It's amplifying the growth of the storm. You know, this storm is one for the record books, and it's caused tremendous damage in a number of countries. So this is the overall path. It formed off northwestern Australia, crossed the ocean to Africa. So let's say a few things about Freddy, and then I'll show you the route of the storm and talk about some of the records and some of the damage that the storm has created. And it's got climate change written all over it because, you know, it lasted for so long and it set so many records. So Cyclone Freddy was the longest lived tropical cyclone on record, basically running for about 5 weeks. It beat the previous record of Hurricane John in 1994. Okay, Freddy, exceptionally long-lived, powerful, deadly storm. It tracked across the Indian Ocean for more than 5 weeks in February and March 2023. It was the fourth named storm of the 2023 Australian region cyclone season, and so on. Okay, so let's talk about it. Longest lived tropical storm on record, beat Hurricane John in 1994. Freddy had the highest accumulated cyclone energy. Now, this is calculated by summing the square of the tropical cyclone's maximum sustained winds. Okay, if you energy equals 1/2 mv squared, so it's v squared basically. V squared gives you cyclone energy. It's measured every 6 hours, and you summed the square of their maximum sustained winds, and basically, you know, it set records for accumulated cyclone energy of any tropical cyclone on record worldwide, surpassing Hurricane Aoki in 2006. That ran for 17 days across the Pacific, reached Category 5 on 3 different occasions. Also, Freddy is the only known tropical cyclone to achieve 7 separate rapid intensification cycles, which is unbelievable. I think the previous record was 3, and I'll talk more about what that is in a bit. So it was in the Australian region, cyclone basin. It quickly intensified into Category 4, moved into the southwest Indian Ocean basin. Peak strength was Category 5, and then it was upgraded to a very intense tropical cyclone. Made its first landfall near in Madagascar. Weakened over land, re-strengthened in the Mozambique Channel. Then it made its second landfall in Mozambique. Then it re-emerged into the channel, into the Mozambique Channel, and it made its third, looped around, made its third landfall back in Mozambique, and then it gradually deteriorated and dissipated on March 15th. So it ran from about February 6th to March 15th. Okay, so like I said, it originated off Western Australia. Here we go, its origins, how it was born. The Australian Bureau of Meteorology started monitoring a developing weak tropical low embedded within a monsoon trough in the Timor Sea. It was given an identifier 13U. Conditions were considered marginally conducive for tropical cyclogenesis, cyclone formation. Then it developed into a cyclone, basically, and it was called Tropical Cyclone 11S. Okay, and then it developed into a Category 1 tropical cyclone in the warm water, and it was called Freddy. Okay, so F, very early on, A, B, C, D, E, F. A, B, C, D, E, F. So what, the sixth storm of the season? Yeah, the A, B, C, D, E, yeah, the sixth storm of the season. I'm counting on my fingers just to make sure. Then it quickly became a Category 2, then Category 3, then got a decent I, and it was moving across. Then it crossed over the, from a Category 3, it became Category 4, and then it became disorganized. Then it, because of wind shear, vertical wind shear, kind of broke it up. It crossed into the Southwest Indian Ocean basin, and then it gained the eye again, and it went ashore. Its first landfall was in Mozambique. It was upgraded to a very intense tropical cyclone, and basically it passed north of Mauritius and Reunion, two islands, weakened to a tropical cyclone, made its first landfall in Madagascar. And then, of course, it weakens over land, and then because it crossed the mountainous terrain of Madagascar and was downgraded. And then it came back into the Mozambique Channel. Then it re-strengthened. It became quite a bit stronger, and then it approached the coast of Mozambique, and it made its second landfall, which was in Mozambique. And then it went ashore, it was weakening, and then it came back out. It reemerged. It looped around and came back into the Mozambique Channel, and it started accelerating in intensity, and it strengthened into a moderate tropical storm, gained storm again, and there's pictures of it, images of it here. Became a tropical cyclone March 7th, and then it went up and down, up and down, up and down. It made its third landfall on Mozambique again, and then there was a final warning 6 hours later, 3 hours later, weakened into an overland depression, and the remnants dissipated over Mozambique. So, lots of records. The longest lasting tropical cyclone worldwide in recorded history. The record for the highest accumulated cyclone energy with an ACE, accumulated cyclone energy of 87.01, breaking the former record of 85.26 set by Hurricane Ioki. It was the first tropical cyclone to undergo 7 separate rounds of rapid intensification. Prior to Freddy, no storm in the southern hemisphere had intensified rapidly more than 3 times. So what do we mean by that? Maybe it says right here. It's when it intensifies, it's when the pressure in the eye drops a certain amount in a short period of time. So there's an increase in the maximum sustained winds of at least 30 knots, that's nautical miles an hour, in a 24-hour time period. In the northern hemisphere, only 3 storms have experienced 4 bouts of rapid intensification. Hurricane Norman, Emily, John. The WMO estimates that Freddy has produced roughly as much ACE, accumulated cyclone energy, as an average whole Atlantic hurricane season. There you go. The entire, if you add all the accumulated cyclone energy of all of the cyclones in the Atlantic basin, then on an average year, you get a number that is lower than what Freddy by itself put out, simply because Freddy lasted for so long. It was just incredibly long. So let's have a look at Freddy. First of all, this is the Joint Typhoon Warning Center, which tracks storms in this region. It tracks storms in the Indian Ocean here, in the Pacific Ocean. So we see one guy there, tropical cyclone development unlikely within 24 hours. So this tracked, so lots of people, of course, were watching Freddy real time in this region, but in the Northern Hemisphere, we pretty much ignored Freddy. Most people didn't even know about Freddy until it started breaking every record for cyclones that exists. Now on Twitter, I searched for Freddy, okay, and I got all kinds of things that aren't to do with the cyclone, but this one here is one of the best I've found. So I'm going to expand it to full screen, and I'm going to watch it again. So this is February 6th. Australia, Western Australia. Freddy's rotating there. Okay, this is February 10th now. It's moved out across the Indian Ocean. The 11th, the 12th, the 13th, the 14th. You can see the eye there now, the 15th. February 16th, February 17th. It's the Energizer Bunny. It never stops running. Very well-formed eye there. Now it's reaching the island, Madagascar. It runs over, weakens in the mountains, gets broken up, reforms in the Mozambique Channel, comes into Mozambique. A lot of looks weird there, but eventually it comes back out and reforms in the Mozambique Channel. And then it loops back. There it is. It grazes Madagascar there, weakens in the mountains, weakens, and then it reforms and it comes back into Mozambique. Okay, this is 11th of March, and then it comes and it causes tremendous flooding more inland in Malawi. That's March 14th. So I got to play this once more. Okay, so you can just watch it without my commentary. So this is, incredible amounts of energy. The energy in this storm, like I said, the accumulated energy, the cumulative energy over the life of this storm adds up to more energy than the entire average Atlantic hurricane season. But, you don't hear much about this guy because it was mostly in the ocean. Right, here it comes attacking Madagascar, breaking up in the mountains, a big mess, then reforming in the warm water, and then hitting Mozambique, causing damage and landslides in Malawi, then coming back into the Mozambique Channel and reforming, and then, hitting Madagascar on the other side in the south, then deciding, let's go the other way. Crossing the channel, reforming, strengthening, and then finally dissipating. Hopefully that's the end of it, but when you see the end of the video, there's still some possibility that could come back in and reform. I mean, we just can't get rid of Freddy. What else is on there? So this is, on Twitter, I just searched for Freddy. Let's see. So there's lots of stuff on Freddy. It's lots of stuff on the damages and pictures on Twitter. This is, of course, the movie Freddy. There's Freddy's movie. So Cyclone Freddy sweeps entire village in Malawi away. You can see people carried by the strong current. Very dangerous to rescue them. Yeah, look at these people being carried in the water by the strong current. Just horrifying. Just horrifying. Tweeted out by a reverend there. I mean, these are people. These are heads of people, I think, swimming. Like, it's just, yeah, it's crazy. And here's the track recap. Hitting Madagascar, going into Mozambique, doing a loop back, hitting Madagascar, didn't go ashore, and then coming into, so here's a recap again. Category 3, Category 5 out here, boom, decided to turn around, and then came up here into Mozambique. So, yeah, just an, You know, and it did this over 5 weeks. Here, let me just go full screen on this thing, because this is, you know, we'll look on Earth Null School at this thing. Okay, so it started February 6th. And it ended about March, just a few days ago. Yeah, it's crazy. There's Freddy again, the movie version. I think the real Freddy, the cyclone, is scarier than this guy. You know, he might affect a few people, but believe it or not, these two satellite images of Cyclone Freddy were taken 20 days apart. Okay, this is the Reverend again. Current situation in Malawi, Blantyre, the commercial city. Your prayers for our country, please. All the debris being carried, probably wildlife, bodies. Yeah, it's crazy stuff. There's the movie version. Not scary at all. This is scary here. Not these guys. Okay, so anyway, yeah, it's just crazy. Carrying coffins. Trying to bury people, but they can't because of the rain. You know, every time they dig up some dirt, it fills in with water. There is no new normal. More coffins lined up from Freddy. This is a video that I showed you, the full life of Freddy. Okay, more images. Yeah, okay, so this is, you get the idea. This is a complete disaster. So let's have a look at Earth Null School. This is about January 28th, but they said February 6th. So let's bring it up to February 6th. The date's up here, February 1st. Do you see anything off Australia? February 5th now. There, it looks like this. Is this it? Right here? Let's see. Probably, yeah, that looks like Freddy. The origins of Freddy. Okay, so this is wind speed at the surface of Earth Null School, right? Just Google Earth Null School, and then when you click on Earth, it brings the menu on and off, and you can just cycle through. So let's see, there's Freddy now moving away from Australia, right? You can see it here. Let's just keep going. Coming across, pretty strong there. It was category 5 in the middle of the ocean. Keep crossing the Indian Ocean, and it's coming up for its first, just missed these 2 islands, which I mentioned, Reunion and Ascension, I think the other one is. And here it does, it comes into Madagascar, and dissipates quickly because of the mountainous terrain, and reappears on the other side here. And then it goes ashore and hits Mozambique, goes inland a bit, decides to do a loop-to-loop, and retrace its path, and it re-enters the, this is the end of February now, and then it re-enters Madagascar, the Mozambique Strait, rather. You can see it here now, okay? And then it comes over. It doesn't have a landfall on Madagascar again. It gets pretty close. It looks like it does have a landfall, but the eye doesn't cross land, so it wasn't counted as a landfall. And then it decided to hover there and turn around the other way. And there it's re-amplifying in the strait with the very warm water. Remember, anytime the water is over 26.5 degrees, these things gain energy. It's gaining energy, and then it's coming back ashore into Africa, into Mozambique on March 10th. You can still see it until about when? You can see, the eye is over here, which is about a few days ago. And that's the end. So let's have a look. This is the winds at the surface. You can look at the mean sea level pressure here. So I'm looking at wind at the surface and mean sea level pressure. And you can see the low pressure areas. So this is January 31st. We got to go to about February 5th or, February 3rd. Okay, we got to go to about February. You should see it hasn't formed yet, but there is low pressure. Now it looks like it may have formed. This is the 5th. I think it's this one right here. This is February 6th. Okay, you can definitely see it now. So it's a low pressure. It's a blue. Starts crossing the ocean. I'll speed up a little bit and you can see how it looks. Eventually you'll see some red there, really low pressure, and then no red, and then red again up here. This is where it's a category 5 in the middle of the ocean. And then it's crossing over and hits Madagascar on about February 21st. Crosses, dissipates quickly, hits Africa, Mozambique. Then it decides to turn around and come back into the channel. Looks like it's almost gone here, but nope. Freddy fooled everybody. And there it starts coming out. The low pressure actually reforms surprisingly over the Mozambique channel. Very warm water there. Comes over to Madagascar again, but doesn't quite make a landfall because the eye's just offshore. And then it decides to head back into Africa where it dissipates just a few days ago. This is another way of, okay, so this is sea surface temperature in this area. So you can look up here where it formed, 29.5 degrees, and then it crossed up here. Water's 20, the water has to be 26.5 Celsius, and then the storm will intensify. So it's intensifying, not much, but it's intensifying the whole way over. Look at it in the channel here, it's 27, so it's enough for the storm, 28.6. It's enough. It's a couple of degrees over the threshold required to amplify storms. And if we look at the temperature anomaly, well, it's not, this is sort of normal temperatures now. This is the anomaly relative to temperature anomaly. It doesn't say on here. I think it's relative to a recent climatological average, like something like 1980 to 2010 or something like that. I have to check for sure. But, you can see this is like normal temperatures. This is like a degree warmer than normal, a degree colder than normal. This is a temperature anomaly. So the ocean was basically, the ocean in this region is now warm enough that any cyclone appearing can do this march across here. Not down here, right? It's too cold down here. But up here, in the Indian Ocean, super warm. You can look across the Pacific, also the same sort of thing, super warm. Okay, so, yeah, it's crazy. Okay, so survivors in shock as Cyclone Freddy toll passes 400 in Malawi, Mozambique. This was just a report by Reuters from just a few 5 hours ago today, March 16th. You can see this was a landslide here, which took out a village. A drone image of a village shows the destruction caused by a mudslide, where many people lost their lives in the aftermath of Cyclone Freddy in Malawi. Okay, so you can see people lining up here, they were collecting bodies, etc. I mean, it just wiped out this pristine village. Okay, there's some more images here. Let's have a look at the other images. Okay. Yeah, tremendous damage. Victims at the Queen Elizabeth Central Hospital. Locals walked past a home that was damaged. Locals look at the path of a mudslide. This is Freddy on March 12th. Okay, so the surge of flood water, and this is well inland, right? this is actually well inland, because let's have a quick look at here's a village in the city in the Shire Highlands, southern Malawi. So there's rugged terrain. The ground was saturated, more and more rain from Freddy, the remnants of Freddy, all that's left of Freddy, caused the landslides, causing huge numbers of casualties. So I'm spreading out here. So here it is here. This is how far inland it is. Right, so this is when the storm finally came up here and petered out. It caused all of these casualties in this region. The water just washed people away. You know, there's that video of people's heads bobbing in the water. Like, we just, you know, they were obviously taken by surprise. They didn't have time. They didn't know ahead of time to go to high ground. So the tropical cyclone Freddy killed more than 400 people in Malawi, Mozambique, and Madagascar since its first made landfall in Africa in late February and circled back to hit the region for a second time over the weekend. The storm is now dissipated, but heavy rains are expected to continue in Malawi and will likely cause more floods around lakeshore areas. In Mozambique, some villages have been completely cut off since the cyclone made its second landfall on Saturday. At least 53 people died in Mozambique, 326 in Malawi since the weekend. The storm had already killed about 27 people in Madagascar and Mozambique before it lashed Mozambique for a second time. Lots of people injured, at least 700 in Malawi. Rain continued to fall, making it difficult to bury the dead. Men stood in newly dug graves that had filled up like pools, scooping the water out with buckets so they could lower in the caskets. Electricity was starting to come back on Thursday. Many places affected by the storm still had no running water, including Blantyre, the second biggest city in Malawi. Some residents said they wished they'd heeded warnings to flee before the cyclone hit, but they had not understood the gravity of the situation and now had nowhere to go. Okay, so that's a Reuters article. I showed you the map of the region we're talking about. Now let's look at some of the facts, okay? Again, why is Cyclone Freddy a record-breaking storm? Okay, so it hit the coast of southern Africa a second time, bringing the death toll way up. So the month-long storm, it lasted 5 weeks. It broke that record and could break 2 more. Of course, as climate change causes warmer oceans, heat energy from the water's surface is fueling stronger storms. No surprise there. It's just logic 101. So Freddy is very noteworthy. In fact, you know, it's been going for 5 weeks and we've only heard about it. I only heard about it in the last week. So what records did it break? It had the highest cyclone energy. It had the most accumulated cyclone energy, which is a measure based on the storm's wind strength over its lifetime. So every 6 hours, the peak winds, or wind velocity, you square it, you multiply it by some factors to get the energy, and then I think the whole index is divided by 10 to give the number. So it's got the highest ACE, or accumulated cyclone energy, of any storm in the southern hemisphere and possibly worldwide. Freddy has generated about as much ACE, accumulated cyclone energy, as an average full North Atlantic hurricane season. So add all the energies of all the hurricanes in an average North Atlantic hurricane season, they're not as high as Freddy by itself. The previous was 1980. The previous record ACE was Hurricane Ioki, and then it became Typhoon Ioki, depending on which basin it's in. Remember, I've talked a few videos back about the basins. You know, in the North Atlantic, we call it hurricanes. In the North Pacific, we call it, in Indian Ocean, we call it typhoons, and then we call it cyclones in the southern hemisphere. So Eddie had an 86 ACE. Well, that's up to 87 now, I believe. Freddy may have broken the record for longest lasting tropical cyclone on record, but there was a 31-day hurricane in 1994. I think it was John, But Freddy first developed on February 6th, made its second landfall on the coast of Mozambique on March 11th, 34 days later. But it lasted about 5 weeks. But experts are still looking at several factors, like the fact that Freddy weakened below tropical cyclone status at some points during that time. So does it still count? Yeah, of course it should. Freddy had the most cycles of intensification. This is where it weakens, intensifies, weaken, intensifies. So it's broken the world record for the most bouts of rapid intensification. So rapid intensification is an increase in wind speed of 35 miles per hour in a period of 24 hours. That's about 30 knots, nautical miles an hour. Freddy had 7 separate cycles of rapid intensification. The previous record was 4, which was reached by several hurricanes in the northern hemisphere. I think 3 was the record previously in the southern hemisphere. Freddy had an unusual path. Developed off the coast of Australia, it crossed the entire South Indian Ocean, traveled more than 8,000 kilometers, almost 5,000 miles. Can you imagine? It made landfall in Madagascar and Mozambique in late February. Then it looped back, hit the coast of Mozambique again 2 weeks later before moving inland to Malawi. Like, what a beast. No other tropical cyclones observed in this part of the world have taken such a path across the Indian Ocean in the past 2 decades. Only 4 storms have crossed the southern Indian Ocean from east to west, with the last one in 2000. Okay, so it was just a beast that broke numerous records, and it was among Africa's deadliest storms. So this was just yesterday, in the news yesterday, fact box. So Freddy killed more than 270 people in southern Africa, making it one of the deadliest storms to hit the continent in the last 2 decades. Below are some of the deadliest storms recorded in Africa since 2000. Before that, reliable data is scarce, okay? And the real death toll is usually higher because of deaths that went uncounted or were not officially recorded. So that's sort of a minimum number. So Cyclone Idai in 2019, it killed more than 1,000 people when it battered Mozambique, Zimbabwe, and Malawi in 2019. 2 major rivers burst their banks in Mozambique, and that caused most of the casualties by submerging villages. So Freddy killed more than 270 people, as I said, and set all these records. Storm Dinio in 2017, heavy flooding in Zimbabwe, killing 250 people. Cyclone Galifo in 2004, killed 170 people in Madagascar. A cyclone hit Somalia, believe it or not, in 2013, killing 160 people. Remember I talk about the jet streams being wavy and slower, and as a result, the storm's extreme weather events increase in frequency, severity, duration, right? This storm was lasting so long. And also they happen in regions they haven't before, and this is exactly what's going on in this storm. This is climate change, like I say, written all over it. Africa really had bad luck. If I say lucked out in the climate casino, does that mean had bad luck or good luck? Lucked out. What do you say? If it's good luck, do you say lucked in? I don't know. Anyway, luck. When I say it's lucked out, you might think that that's a good thing. Lucked out. I got lucky, but no, it's out of luck in the climate casino. This storm in Somalia caused massive destruction, displaced hundreds of nomads, wiped out about 1 million livestock. And then there was Helene and Gloria in 2000, one after another, back to back. That's another thing. We're getting more storms back to back. So you hardly have time to recover from one extreme weather event before another one comes along and another one comes along. This is the idea of cascading damages, cumulative damages. So eventually, as these storms worsen, you can imagine, big cities being trashed by abrupt climate system change and not having the resources to recover. So anyway, this is very, very crucial stuff. All these records were being set. I just want to show this thing again, because if I can find this video again, where is it? It's way down there now. Stop posting Freddy stuff about the, what is this? Who's this guy? There's Freddy. Okay, yeah, right. The internet. Okay, well, there was this video. Let's watch this video full screen if we can. Is this the one? No, this isn't the one I was thinking of. That's not the one I was thinking of. The one I was thinking of was from the Reverend, if I can find it. This one. Yeah, let's watch this guy. So this is a 26 second video in its full screen. So look at so there's people, there's debris, but there's heads of people. These are people that are stuck in the raging rivers. Who knows how many of them survived, if any. You know, if they're good swimmers, they might be able to get out. But it's just horrifying. So, you know, they were completely taken by surprise, or they didn't heed the warnings, or, you know, who knows what happened in the situation. But, you know, it's just horrifying. Yeah. So anyway, thank you for listening. And you know, these type of storms, you know, Hurricane Freddy is one for the record books, but we almost didn't even know it existed until it broke all of these records, right? That's the bottom line. We can't ignore the global south. You know, we're Northern Hemisphere centric. Most people live in the Northern Hemisphere. We cannot ignore the plight of people in the global south. So thanks again for listening. Please go to my website and donate to my PayPal account to support my research and videos. Okay, we'll talk soon. Bye for now.